James Wood is getting the call, and Noelvi Marte is back. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more coming up on the Friday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are brought by Draftkings PickSix. Use promo code RWPicks for $50 in PickSix credits with a $5 deposit. I'm Clay Link of RotoWire.com here with FSWA Hall of Famer Todd Zola. And Todd, that's right, numerous reports today have that the Nationals are calling up James Wood on Monday. So we aren't going to see him this weekend apparently, but a lot of people have him as the top prospect yet to debut in the big leagues. He is a top 5 prospect on our list here at RotoWire, and missed a little time with a hamstring injury this year, but he's been on fire at Rochester. 1036 OPS, 10 home runs, 10 steals in just 51 games. I've had him stashed in a few leagues, so I'm excited to see what he can do. Where do you see James Wood slotting in for Washington?
Well, I think it's interesting. We were talking a little pre-podcast that the Nationals are, announcing he's coming up Monday. You don't announce a top prospect is coming up in 3 days to sit him, So he's got to play. And then we would, looking at their outfield, he plays center, plays left. I would say at this point, Jacob Young is probably the weakest link. He's kind of inconsistent out there in center field. So at minimum, Wood probably plays 75% of the time in center field. Young becomes the backup pinch runner, maybe goes in for defense for Winker, something like that. But I would expect 3/4 of the playing time anyway for James Wood. Maybe not at the top of the order right away anyway. Thomas has been hitting pretty well lately. We just mentioned Winker. So I think that if you've been stashing him, he's going to be 15-team mix worthy with so many injuries now. Even these platoon players are worthy. I don't know. Is 12-team a stretch at least until we see what he has?
Maybe. I'm excited about him though, but you know me. I tend to. I'm learning, but it's I have high expectations for him. We've seen a lot of guys come up and struggle, so it could go either way. But I really liked what he's shown to cut down his swing and miss this year. It seems like he's changed his swing a little bit to get to the ball, a shorter path to the ball, and cut down the strikeouts, which has really led to this surge at AAA. And I think it's led to him rising up prospect list too, because the swing and miss was a big concern with him coming into the year. But I think he's done a lot to kind of ease those concerns and power speed combo. So I think there's a lot to like there. We'll see though. I do think that the guy you mentioned, Jacob Young, he had that great run where he was stealing bags, kind of had a John Birdie-esque run there, but he has a 652 OPS now. He's kind of cooled, and so
yeah, for sure.
I'm with you on him being probably the odd man out there. And then Noelvi Marte, who I mentioned, 80-game PED suspension, but returned last night with 3 hits. Reds are struggling, but Noelvi Marte, the Reds and fantasy managers are going to be hoping he can provide a shot in the arm.
Yeah. And his minor league numbers were terrible during the rehab.
Oh, yeah,
right?
He was struggling on his rehab for sure.
Yeah, call it rehab, whatever you want to call it. Coming off a suspension, I think it's technically rehab. And people were hesitant. Well, actually, it came as somewhat of a surprise when the Reds announced that he'd be back the first day he's eligible. On the other hand, Heimer Candelaria is a bit banged up. More recently, Jake Fraley is banged up. So there was definitely some openings. And it wasn't so much banged up, but at least last night, Tyler Stevenson went on paternity leave. So he could be gone through the weekend. So, and yet and you mentioned struggling, the Reds still, was it 11-6? Was that the final? They still prevailed.
Yeah, they won. They had a pretty big offensive night.
So
surprising.
Marte helped contribute to that and making up for the Candelario and Fraley's absence. So, Yeah, the Reds will, I think the Reds will have another run. Their pitching, I think, will stabilize a little bit. Graham Ashcraft is back. Didn't look so good in his return, but I mean, is back and was pitching well on the farm. So I do think your Reds will have at least another run. And the Brewers aren't that far away. The wild card isn't that far away. So I think it'll still be an interesting. This marks the fixed game played will be the 2,431st. So we're exactly halfway through the season after last night.
Yeah, well, congrats on getting to the halfway point. The exact halfway point right now as we talk. It's a long way to go still. So, all these stats we've banked so far can help us or hurt us, but still a long way to go. And we'll be here to try to help you claw up the standings. Well, let's talk about the pickups in the RotoWire Stake League last night. Heston Kierstad was the top ad at $5, and maybe he's kind of a point that you can, say, hey, well, him and his teammate Jackson Holiday kind of say, well, pump the brakes on James Wood because, here's a couple examples of guys who really struggled. Kierstad, though, never really seemed to get much run with playing time during his first call up. You see him playing more regularly this time around?
I think what Baltimore has shown with everybody is they'll play whoever's playing well. Mm-hmm. And when you no longer are playing well, you're no longer going to play. So I think the mixing metaphors here, the ball's in his court, right? So I think that he'll be given an opportunity, especially I think he had it. We talk about big games. I think the Orioles and Kierstad had maybe a losing effort, but Kierstad still had a big game the other night. So I think he'll be given the opportunity. Now, Colton Cowser is the perfect example of where was he going to play? He got hot and he played every day, but now he's not hot anymore and he's not playing every day, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the Orioles are in it to win it, as they say. So I do think Kierstad will get the opportunity, but will it be every day? Probably not every day, but I think he'll be kind of like Wood in that 15-team mix-worthy, 12-team borderline.
Yeah, I expect him to play more this time around, although I don't know exactly how much because, there's still a lot of moving parts there for Baltimore. We'll see. I think he's a worthwhile ad. But Colton Cowser is still in the mix, and Ryan O'Hearn. So
it's Cowser and Mullins. They're the thing they both have their advantage is they both play center field.
And Mullins has been crushing it lately.
He was not for a while. Mm-hmm. And there was one time I'm looking at our projected lines like Mullins. Wow, they made a mistake. Whoever's the stringer for Baltimore. Wait a minute. He's been terrible lately. He hasn't played lately, but now he's back in the lineup again. So I think that and right now it is Cowser is the odd man out because designated hitter, Ryan O'Hearn is not going anywhere, and not to mention Adley Rutschman could be doing some DHing because he's got took a foul tip off his hand when you see lineups come out today, or he could just be out or back behind the plate, tough guy that he is, but he had a foul tip off his hand. And he may be DHing for a couple of days.
Joey Loper-Fido at $4 pickup last night out of 100, and I had him rostered earlier this year. Wasn't like he was that bad during his prior call-up, but didn't light the world on fire either. And we know that Jose Abreu's gone, but it sounds like they view Loper-Fido as pretty much strictly an outfielder in the long term, at least.
You got to get John Singleton's bat in that lineup, right? I don't understand. If Loper-Fido is a decent first baseman, I would just put him there and let him grow as a hitter at his most comfortable position. Although he's been playing, I've seen a couple of highlights. He's been chasing balls down in both corner spots. So maybe he can. But I do kind of like we were saying with Kierstad. I think Loper-Fido is going to get a shot this time. Like you said, Abreu it's been a couple of weeks now, and Singleton's not much. And there's been some injuries throughout the Astros outfield a little bit. Don't look now, but they're only 4 games out of first.
Yeah, they're back to 500, I believe, the Astros.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
They've come surging back. Aroldis Chapman, top pitcher, picked up at $4. So with David Bednar out on the injured list with a strained left oblique, in steps the veteran the Cuban Missile for another chance to save games. We don't know exactly how long Bednar's going to be out, but an oblique strain could very well mean beyond the minimum stay. So I certainly understand it with Chapman.
Right. Isn't oblique one of the ones? I mean, he could be back. We just don't know. It could be nothing, or it could be 3-4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It seems with obliques. We have a general feel for, straight, grade 2 this, whatever, strain that. But oblique kind of has a wide range of outcomes.
True. Now, for the team, I think with the best record in baseball, surprisingly, the Cleveland Guardians, John Kenzie Noel, maybe Noel. I don't think it's Noel, but maybe it is. But John Kenzie Noel is another exciting youngster, and he actually homered already in his first couple games. So we don't have him technically atop the depth chart at any one spot, but maybe an opportunity for Noel to play here and show what he can do. They're not hurting really anywhere right now, this team.
This is the club that I was a little bit ago at this point, but gave Kyle Manzardo a chance. It did not work out. And now I think Noel could be getting some of that time. Keep in mind that Will Brennan is on the IL. So Noel could be picking up some time along with Daniel Schneemann in right field, at least short term. Brennan didn't he hit 2 home runs earlier this week? He was kind of a heater. It's kind of ill time for Brennan to go out. But the Noel can play, like you said, first base in the corner outfield. Also do some designated hitting. And if Bo Naylor doesn't get it together, David Fry will be doing more catching, opening up DH for Noel. So is he a lefty or righty? I think I looked it up before, and now I forget. And I made enough mistakes. I don't want to make another mistake.
That's all right. Let me double check.
He's a righty. He's a righty. I thought he was, because I remember, he's the weak side of the platoon. Cleveland plays that game, but they seem to they're not as into the platoon as some other teams. So I think Noel will get a chance.
Yeah, he's pretty interesting. And again, that team's kind of clicking on all cylinders. So maybe they don't feel the need to, force things if he struggles. But a homer in his debut, and so he's off to a pretty good start there. And yeah, Will Brennan did have a 2-homer game on the 20th before he he landed on the IL.
And to be fair, we should point out, Noel got a homer in his debut. He had 5 plate appearances, but he also struck out 3 times. Therein lies the rub, right?
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Good thing to point out for sure. And Hunter Goodman of the Rockies picked up here, only $2. And this is only a 1-catcher league, but it does help his cause that he's getting playing time at catcher. He's played mostly, the majority of his time so far in right field, but he's also made 8 appearances behind the plate. So,
this is more relevant for Monday to Sunday leagues. I know you're talking about the stake, which starts Thursday or Friday. The Rockies have another 7-game schedule at home next week.
Oh yeah, 7 at home. That's pretty nice.
And there are only 6 teams with 7 games next week. We'll talk a little bit about it when we get to the 2-start pitchers. 6. There's 3 games on the Monday schedule, and then July 4th, MLB does the right thing and has all 15 teams playing. So for 6 straight days, we get 15 games, but only 6 teams play on Monday for 7 games, and Colorado's one of them.
Ben Joyce of the Angels picked up. Now, the Angels are a disaster. But for $2, I think Ben Joyce is a pretty good closer spec. He's now turned in, 6 straight scoreless appearances after some stumbles to start. The walks are still, a little high, but I think he's a closer of the future, and maybe that future is not so far away for a team that really doesn't have much to lose by throwing him into that role.
I mean, we thought he could be the closer of the present 3 months ago, right?
Yeah, before he got hurt.
He was on the list. Right. If nothing else, I think the Angels are going to get a look. To me, Joyce is one of those guys where when he's healthy, you want him in there, because who knows for how long he's going to be healthy. So, and didn't he pick up? How can you pick up velocity when you average 100? but I read somewhere he's actually added some velocity.
What? Yeah, that's
maybe I'm misreading it or something, or it was down and he regained it. But I saw.
Yeah, because he's a guy who usually touches triple digits.
Yeah, exactly.
On the regular. So, yeah, I think he's a pretty smart ad. I'm gonna, he's he hasn't been like a super high leverage arm for them, but I'm gonna move him up the depth chart because certainly a closer of the future, and with the way things are going there, I mean, there could be a fire sale there real soon for the Angels.
I would think I'm gonna search Ben Joyce on Twitter, see what it was that I figured out, or what I think what it is he's throwing what they're calling a splinker. So it's not so much the velocity. He's added a new pitch, and he's throwing that at 100 miles an hour.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's what it is. It's not so much.
Hit, I imagine.
Yeah, it's not so much he's got added. How can you add velo to 100 mile an hour fastball? But you can add and maybe you know what? Maybe something like the splinker will help the control.
Mm-hmm. Could very well. Others to consider if available in your league: Spencer Schwellenbach, Jose Miranda, who's quietly had a pretty good run, batting cleanup for that team.
Yeah, I've been on Miranda for a while, and the numbers, the surface stats are finally catching up to the underlying metrics. I think it's kind of nice.
And his teammate Carlos Santana's kind of also turned it around.
Yeah.
David Festa, Uncle Ted mentioned Davis Daniel, who had 8 Ks last night. I like that one. And also mentioned Kyle Higashioka.
Yeah, I mean, well, Festa got the win, but it was in a blowout. He gave up 5 runs as well. Daniel, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, and he was pitching well. I'm not going to go overboard with 8 Ks in 8 innings just yet. I think he's worth a pickup, but let's slow the roll just a little bit.
All right. Well, we will get into our 2-star pitchers for next week after a brief word from our sponsor, Draftkings PickSix. Do you ever play the over-under game with your friends? I think I can eat that slice of pizza in under 30 seconds, or I know it'll take you over a minute to down that 2-liter. If you have, you're going to love PickSix, the new fantasy game from DraftKings. Here's how to play during baseball season. Pick between 2 and 6 players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like runs, hits, strikeouts, and more. Track your picks and play against others for a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the new DraftKings PickSix app and use code RWPicks. New customers play $5 and get 50 in PickSix credits. That's code RWPicks for new customers to play $5 and get 50 in PickSix credits only on DraftKings PickSix. The crown is yours. 1 per new customer, non-withdrawable. PickSix credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states. Not available in all states, including New York and Connecticut. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Well, Todd, you ready to get into the 2-star pitchers for next week?
Let's do it.
The week of July 1st. We are into July already. Seemed like June went pretty quick. Although the heat, we haven't been dealing with the heat as bad here in Wisconsin, but hopefully you've been able to bear the heat.
It's cooled back down again.
Oh, that's
and
good.
So have runs. It's man. Just as what's his Roddy Piper. Just as you think you know the answer, they changed the question. So
that's one of the great lines. Well, number 1 on our list, I think, is going to be a pretty easy one. Ryan Nelson's got to go to the Dodgers, then to the Padres. He's got an ERA over 5, well over 5. It's going to be an easy 0 to start the week.
Yes, we agree to start the week.
All right. Well, real quick, we started the show talking about James Wood. Before we get any further into the 2-star pitchers, we had a question in the chat. Would we drop Aroldis Chapman, Helio Ramos, or Michael Garcia for Woods? That's for Wood.
Adolis Garcia, not Chapman.
Did I say Chapman? I'm sorry. Yeah, Adolis Garcia.
I mean, maybe. Well,
Ramos is a tough one because he's been so.
I'm not. It depends upon. I mean, to me, if these guys are starting for you, and this is my weakness, is making moves like this in season, I think you can drop Garcia.
Yeah, he's been a disappointment.
Yeah, although, I mean, in the middle infield may be more difficult to replace. But if you're looking for upside, I mean, if it's a 10 or 12 team league and you're looking for upside, yeah, I think maybe you go for it. But Garcia and Ramos are in the lineup; they're producing, and if I wouldn't want to put, if you're expecting Wood to just go in your lineup and produce at their level, I think that's a risk.
Yeah, definitely some risk to it, and maybe you don't want to drop Garcia for another outfielder, but I would try to find a spot for Wood if I could. And I know that's easier said than done in a league where you have a guy like Adolis Garcia and Helio Ramos, but and Garcia. But I would probably drop Garcia.
Just to be be anal about this whole thing. There's only one of them. It's James Wood, not James Woods.
Yes, that's right.
I've made that mistake. Yeah, I've made the mistake a couple times, so I'm just trying to protect our friend. 2K.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody in the chat hanging out with us. Next up, Ronaldo Lopez. I was kind of, expecting the regression monster to catch up to old Ronaldo, but he's not only fought that off, he's gotten better. A 1.70 ERA, pretty incredible. Expect him to pitch an inning or two in the All-Star game, frankly. Versus San Francisco, versus Philly. Couple home starts, and it sounds like the Phillies, by the way, down both Harper and Schwarber now.
At least, well, have that been?
Yeah, it's official now.
Okay, I haven't seen the report. I know they were both awaiting medicals.
Yeah, this is what I was kind of tracking this right before we started, and it was not official yet, but now it is official that Harper on the IL with a left hamstring strain.
It did not look
Schwarber, I believe, too.
Yeah, it did not look good for Harper. In typical Bryce Harper fashion, I don't want to call it a blowout, but in a game they were about to lose, hustled on the line on the last out of the game, and hurt himself crossing the bat. And kind of did it hobbling around a bit, was able to walk off under his own power, but it didn't look good. All right, that's interesting. Both, and the thing with Schwarber was, and Phillies fans did not like this. He was in left field last night.
Yeah,
and he heard him groin, I believe. Anyway, so that helped. I mean, we're talking about Ronaldo Lopez in the start. I have him a 5 regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But this, if nothing, I mean, if you were like really a 5, if nothing else, this sort of helps that case.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think at least in the short term with the Phillies lineup looking a lot less dangerous. I mean, for Ronaldo's second half of that 2-step, I think he's a 5, both at home. The way he's pitching, I'm with you there. Absolutely.
So what do the Phillies do? I guess to, I mean, they're gonna make it through. They still have enough power. Alec Bohm moves over. I guess Sosa's back in the lineup again at third base. So that's
I think so.
That's not too bad. And it's been DHing. They'll probably rotate guys through the DH, and it just means that guys like. Maybe they already have called it Rojas back up again, right? So they just rotate guys to the DH, or maybe Castellanos is DH and they rotate guys through right field.
Yeah, they'll have to scrape by, but they've kind of they build up decently. The Mets are starting to turn around a little bit, but I think the Phillies can afford that blow.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm writing a little quick note to some of our guys here. All right. So next up, we both had Harper Lopez as a 5. So no 2-star pitchers for the Baltimore Orioles. Are they going 6-man or is there somebody returning?
Assuming Kramer comes back.
Dean Kramer, that's right. He's struggled in a rehab start on Thursday.
Yeah, right.
4 runs on 6 hits over 4 1/3. At triple.
And if they do go with someone or it doesn't work out, Rodriguez is probably with those Seattle and Oakland, he's a 5 for me if he does happen to get 2 starts.
Right,
a lot of strikeouts.
Next up, Kutter Crawford on your Boston Red Sox. At Miami, at the Yankees. Yankees have gone pretty cold, but they're always dangerous, of course. At Miami, at the Yankees, 2 road starts for Crawford. I'll turn this one over to you to start.
Oh, Crawford's lost some of the magic. As has most of the staff. I'm going to give him a 2.
2. Huh?
I'm not, early in the year I may have been a little bit higher, but like you said, the Yankees are still dangerous even without Stanton, or maybe just as dangerous without Stanton. Although Stanton's been playing pretty well. So yeah, the Red Sox staff in general, Brian Bayo was put off or given a kind of a week to kind of regroup. He's kind of lost it a bit. There was a talk about or mention about Josh Winkowski. I mean, we've seen ups and downs. I'm not counting on Winkowski to save my season or save the Red Sox season. He's not a bad fill-in, but there's a reason why he hasn't been starting the whole time, other than injury.
Yeah, so you're only 2.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Jeez.
The Yankees start, yeah. I mean, Miami, I like Miami on the road. But I mean, if someone were to say 3, I'm not going to say you're an idiot. I'm not going to say you're an idiot anyway. But this may be from the Red Sox eyes, having seen a little bit of a dip lately from Crawford.
Well, Hayden Wesneski was picked up in the Stake League, but I didn't mention him because he was pretty far down the list. But with Javier Assad now on the IL,
yeah,
looks like Wesneski could get that opportunity to start. So it would be for Wesneski tentative, but versus those decimated Phillies and versus the Angels. So pretty nice 2-step on paper with Philly banged up. Probably only going to go 1, but he's a guy that could see picking up maybe if you're desperate and thrown out there.
Yeah, he had 72 pitches in his the last, when he re-entered the rotation. So I don't know that that's an issue. I think I'm going to go 2.
2? Okay.
Part of it is because the Phillies lineup is a little bit down. And then you mentioned before, the Angels are a mess.
Yeah, they really, really are. Graham Ashcraft for the Reds. He's got to face the Yankees in New York then versus Detroit. I'm going to go 0. The guy's kind of puzzling for me because he's shown the ability and the stuff can impress when it's on, but he's just too inconsistent. And even with the stuff, just doesn't get enough strikeouts.
And it was the 2 starts previous to being called up. He was really good on AAA. Then Pittsburgh got him for a pair of homers. So I'm not going to go 0 because I don't think that the matchups warrant a 0. But oh man, I'm just going to go 1. I could see if you're at the point where you want strikeouts and wins and you aren't as concerned about ratios, I think you can go with I think you can go with Ashcraft.
All right, I got a
0. Or, as you like to say, a points league 1.
Okay, yeah, that works. Not a guy I feel good about if you're trying to protect your ratios, but we'll see. Gavin Williams
this one's interesting.
Gavin Williams had a rehab outing on Thursday. Allowed 1 run on 3 hits and 2 walks over 4 innings for AAA Columbus. So we're projecting him back on Tuesday versus the White Sox versus San Francisco for Williams in his first starts in the big leagues this year. He made 16 starts last season for a 3.29 ERA, 1.26 WHIP. This will be another boost to this Guardians team. Where are you at on Williams in his return?
Can you promise me there won't be any weighted baseballs in his vicinity to work out with?
Yeah, it was a weighted ball mishap that put him on the IL.
Yeah. Look decent on rehab. I guess was inefficient. Only went 4 innings, but he threw 82 pitches, which puts him in the 85 to 90 range. You like the matchups, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's Cleveland. There's just some magic going on. The White Sox in San Francisco. I'm going to go with 2, but I'm using them.
Okay, I put down 3, but I'm going to change it up and go back to 2.
Yeah, I was thinking
2
3
feels right for a guy just coming back.
Right. I think that yes, because he's just coming back, I'm going to go 2. But I think again, if you stick with 3, I wouldn't be laughing at you.
Yeah. Well, we're on to the Rockies, but I'm messaging one of my guys here because I think Austin Gomber should be on here, right? Because I think there's just Gomber must have gotten skipped here or something in the.
unless we know in advance he's going to be missing a start. Sometimes, there's so much. I don't if you're following it this week. There's been more movement on starting. It's just been ridiculous.
Yeah,
and I know this because guess what week Tristan at ESPN took to take the week off and leave me in charge of the forecaster to make all the moves. I'm happy to do it for Tristan Cockcroft, where the H is for happy. I would think that. So if that's the case, then So
I mean, I'm going zero either way, but I'm just noting that I think Gomber and Ryan Feltner would be up for 2.
Yeah, you think what we did was we put Marquez in the rotation, and that may have got lost and Gomber may have got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, Gomber just got skipped there, but we'll get this fixed here.
They're both at home. I'm not going to use either of them.
Yeah, me neither. I'm going to give them both zeros, but I just wanted to note that because technically right now, but we're going to get that fixed here momentarily. And then Eric Fedde, top name circulating in trade rumors right now, but still with the White Sox for now. At Cleveland, at Miami. Certainly not a 5, but man, Fedde at Cleveland. Cleveland's not a great matchup, but at Miami certainly is. Is this a 3 or a 4, do you think?
On my rankings, it's actually a 5. But that has to it has to do with there's just not a lot of 2-start pitchers. So if I rank it, if we're talking within the week, it's a very good one of the better 2-start options. But relative to the normal number of, because we talked in the beginning how only 6 teams have 7 games, so they even have a chance for 2-start pitchers. And there's so many 6-man rotation, there's just not a lot of 2-start pitchers this week. It's a 4, but he's going to be ranked in the top 20 for me this week. Just like I said, because 2 starts are going to rise.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Absolutely. I'm going to go 4, but yeah, I could see where, in the spreadsheet, he would look like a 5.
Well, the thing with Cleveland is, they score a bunch of runs, but it doesn't feel like they bludgeon you. So you feel like you can get away with it, but then they score 8 runs on 10 hits or something like that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. And man, Stephen Kwan, what a run he's having.
Does he have enough at bats yet that we start using the word 400? We're getting closer.
Getting closer and showing more pop than ever.
Yeah.
It's been a big boon for fantasy managers. I think he's already exceeded his career high, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Kwan. So let me just double check that. But yeah, 7 already, which is more than his previous career high. So we'll see if he's able to keep it going. But if he's able to just tap into a little bit more power, that would be a huge thing for Stephen Kwan's value. All right, for Houston, Hunter Brown, Spencer Arrighetti. Brown's been, having a nice resurgence, and Arrighetti bounced back in his latest start. So,
should we just make it official and give Scooble a 5?
Oh yeah, sorry, I did already write that down, so I just skipped over him. Scooble's a 5, yes, at Minnesota, at Cincinnati, he's a 5. Hunter Brown and Arrighetti at Toronto, at Minnesota. Hunter Brown is pushing a 4 for me. I think I'm going to say 4 for him, but maybe a 2 on Arrighetti.
Arrighetti's coming off a real nice game.
Yeah, he is,
and he's turned it around. I don't know that he deserves a 3. Now, I'm going to go 2 as well, but I think I'm using him.
And what about Brown?
Oh yeah, a 4. The 2 of them kind of followed similar paths. Brown's more established, of course, that they stunk it up early and have figured it out later. Although, we talked about Houston's only 4 games out. So, there's a reason everybody's pitching a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brady Singer for Kansas City. He'd be versus Tampa Bay at Colorado. That at Colorado hurts, but overall, he's pitched pretty well. So,
yeah,
I think I'm going to go. I'm thinking about him and Arrighetti are kind of on the same mix. I'm only going to go 2 here.
See, Singer's the type of pitcher that if Colorado was even as they normally are, it would be 0. But Colorado's now so bad that you got to, I'm going to go 2 as well.
Yeah, Colorado is an absolute mess. And we talked about the Angels being a real mess. Well, they gave an opportunity to former top prospect with the Pirates, Roansy Contreras. And, he only went, 3 innings. So it wasn't really like a true start for him, but it looks like he will be getting more opportunities to start. Roansy, maybe build up from here. At Oakland, at the Cubs, not bad, but until he's further stretched out, I think I'll only go 0, until he's capable of qualifying for a win. I'm going to go 0.
Well, he threw 61 pitches.
That's a good point.
It was only
too far off.
It's only 3 innings. I mean, a good pitcher throws 12 pitches an inning. So that's 5 innings. But I'm a little bit more optimistic about going 5. What are the matchups again?
At Oakland, at the Cubs.
All right, I'm gonna go 1. I mean,
I am too now that I
think you have to.
You made a good point about, even though it's 3 innings, 61 pitches, if he's a little more efficient, could probably go further than that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right, you convinced me. I'll go 1 on Roansy. And then for the Dodgers, we have Walker Buehler set to return next week. So no 2-star pitchers for them.
And London Knack,
very tentative.
Landon Knack. I said London. Landon Knack sticking around just to get everybody to keep him on the extra rest.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, I was trying to create, and I did create a projection for this guy earlier, but hard to really know what he was going to do. Valente Belloso. Now he went 5 1/3. Or I'm sorry, he went 5 scoreless in his debut on Wednesday. That was at Kansas City. Only 2 strikeouts, but 2 hits, no walks over 5, no earned runs. Showing a little something there. I need to see more before I can trust this guy versus Boston versus the White Sox. Valente Belloso, do you see anything here to go into a positive digit here? I'm going to go 0.
Wasn't he the pitcher when Leslie Nielsen was behind the plate that game? You know what? I mean, I think with Belloso and Birdsong, who I don't know if he's got 2 starts, but they both came up the same day or started the same day. So Birdsong does not. I was looking at Hayden Birdsong. I was like, I like this guy. Yeah. Belloso was just, wow, they're down to here. So I do not see anything. And to answer your question, this is just where the Marlins are at this point. They've got an all-star staff on the injured list.
Yeah, really tough year for the Marlins. And, Belloso, tip of the cap to him for what he did in his debut, but I need to see more. Next up here, we got Dallas, former Cy Young winner Dallas Keuchel and Bryce Wilson for the Milwaukee Brewers. They're going to be at Colorado, then at the Dodgers. Doesn't get any tougher than that.
Is there something below 0? I mean, I went 6 on Tanner Houck early in the year. Can we go -1?
I think we can. For him,
all right, Wilson, I'm going to go 0. But for Keuchel, wow.
Yeah, Keuchel, I think, is going to be a negative one. With all the ground balls he allows, it's...
Yeah, I mean...
How big that outfield is.
He's just happy pitching anywhere at this point. Although, I mean, he did pitch for Minnesota last year. But this is why you train your kids to be left-handed.
Yes, that is a good point. Now, Simeon, Woods, Richardson versus Detroit versus Houston. I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen from Woods Richardson.
I was about to say I caught a little bit of him pitching. I hadn't really put my eyes on him yet. I was impressed as well. Not that watching 2 innings of a guy is going to, I'm not my untutored eyes, but didn't look out of place. Don't love the Houston matchup, but I don't know, 2.
I was going to go 3, but I can see the more conservative 2.
Yeah, there. I'm going to go 2.
Okay, that's just fine. All right. moving on here, we got the Mets. Their grimace run ended, but they're still on a pretty nice run here in general. And David Peterson's chipped in 3 wins with a 3.67 ERA. He's going to be at Washington, at Pitt. He's going to have to face James Wood. Although I think James Wood's a lefty, I still expect him to be in that lineup. But yeah, he will be at Washington, at Pittsburgh. David Peterson. I'm tempted to go. I think I might go 3 here.
Mets are on the road for 7. I mean, this is one of those dumb questions because why would I be asking it if the answer wasn't the Mets? But the number 1 road offense in baseball? It's not just in June. It's for the year. And it's really not close. I mean, it's not surprising the Mets are better away than at home due to Citi Field. But they have the number 1 road offense.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, well, you would have if because of the fact that I asked it during the Mets top part of the show. But anyway, I'm with you at a 3 for Peterson. I'm rooting for it because I picked him up in my score sheet league, and it's all about me. But yeah, I'm gonna go Peterson. We should also mention that I don't know that they've officially said it yet, but Christian Scott should be returning literally any day now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got word that he could get the call soon. He has a good chance, according to manager Carlos Mendoza, of being called up to enter the rotation during the team's upcoming stretch of 17 games in 17 days. So don't have an exact day, but they're going to need him pretty soon here with this stretch. And yeah, apparently, according to Will Salmon of The Athletic, Scott has been working on his sweeper during his latest stint with Syracuse. And he's posted a 2.08 ERA, 1.23 WHIP, and 16-3 K to walk in 13 innings. So we already knew he was a heck of a prospect and really good, but adding another pitch could help Christian Scott even more. Now, Luis Heels hit a bit of a rough stretch. He was pitching like a Cy Young contender early. He's hit a bit of a rough patch, but I think Aaron Boone said he's not really worried at all about his arm strength or, resting him in the immediate future. Maybe there's some innings limitations in the second half at some point as they, hope to have him for the postseason. But for the time being, it looks like Heels a full go. So versus Cincinnati versus Boston, I like that Cincy start. I'm going to go 4 on Heel.
Wow, I thought I would have to talk you out of a 5. I'm going to go 4 as well. I wrote a piece for ESPN this week. I'm expecting some combination of both regression and tempered innings from Heel. Mm-hmm. He's a good example of someone who has been so good that people tend to overlook the luck aspect of it. That, no, it's not lucky. He's just that good. You can be both lucky and good. I'd like to be one or the other, to be honest. But
yeah, me too.
I've
been pretty lucky. I've been lucky in life.
Well, as far as being able to talk to you and doing what I'm doing, I'm extremely lucky. But anyway,
that's nice of you to say.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. What do we? I
think we're both on a 4, right?
We're both on a 4.
Yeah. I think that sounds right. Who was the guy? I was trying to think of who they just announced is going to see a restricted workload here in the second half. Oh, I think it was Crochet, right?
Yeah, and not to mention that the Pittsburgh reemphasized it with skipping Jared Jones this week.
Yeah.
And I just did it again, mentioning ESPN more than RotoWire. Tomorrow, my piece just to begin the daily notes is looking at Jones and Skeens' early season starts. I think they're both are going to get between 10 and 12 more starts over the next 13 weeks. So I think, Pittsburgh doesn't want to shut either of them down, but there will be another week or two where they just are skipped.
Well, we'll get back to our 2-star pitchers here momentarily, but we'll pause real quick for a prepaid word from our sponsors. All right, we are back here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Clay Link and Todd Zola. And before we do get back to the 2-star pitchers, Nicholas in the chat had an interesting question. He has to sit one. He's got a tough decision here. Sanchez versus the Marlins, Blanco versus the Mets, or Steele versus the Brewers?
Well, congratulations on your championship, Nicholas. Because if you have to sit one of those guys,
I'm assuming. Wait, which?
I'm assuming Christopher
Sanchez. Yeah, Christopher Sanchez. Man, he's coming off 7 scoreless. Kind of a tough guy to sit.
Is it Blanco? Just and it's not because we don't like Bruno Blanco, but it's just of the 3.
Yeah, I think of the 3, he would probably be the guy.
And it's the Mets on the road.
Yeah, it's, as you mentioned, top road offense. So, yeah, I think as good as things have been going for Blanco, I think you're right. That it would be Blanco versus the Mets.
And the Brewers are a little bit banged up, right? A little bit. So, and Steelers have been great, but, couldn't Jordan Montgomery be one of these choices? We can sit him. Man, has he been disappointing?
Yeah, wow. Him and, Blake Snell, he's been on the injured list for most of the season.
Snell has that excuse. At this point, Montgomery doesn't.
Well, they both have the excuse of being late arrivals to camp.
Yes, they do.
Because of the whole Scott Boras thing. But yeah, he doesn't have the injury excuse.
At least not that we're talking. At least not that we know of.
Yeah, anyway. At least undisclosed. Yeah. Well, Mitch Spence for Oakland. It'll be versus the Angels versus Baltimore. He's pitched respectably, but I can't really trot him out there. Mitch Spence. Let me double check. Versus the Angels. I guess with that first start of the week, I may give him a 1.
Well, Baltimore can undo that 1 really quickly.
True.
I'm going to go 0. I don't know that the strikeouts are there to justify a blow up in the second outing.
Yeah, you can probably do better. So I'll give him a 1, but I defer to Todd's 0 there. Now, here's a name I'm not all that familiar with. Let's see here. Michael Mercado, likely joining the rotation, according to Scott Lauber of the Philadelphia Inquirer. So Spencer Turnbull was put back in the rotation, then he got hurt with a lat. So Turnbull now on the injured list, and the team pointing at Michael Mercado to be the guy to come up and replace him. Now, he has gone 6 innings in his last start at AAA and 5 before that. He was kind of in the process of stretching out before then, and now it looks like he'll have pretty much a full workload, but this is a guy I would need to see more from. So at the Cubs, at Atlanta, 0 for Mercado.
I mean, this is completely number scouting, but a 25-year-old or AAA with only 44 strikeouts and 47 and a third with 23 walks. He was getting away with just 2 homers, so it's keeping the ball in the yard. I don't know that you can keep the ball in Citizens Bank. So I'm going to go 0 as well without knowing too much about him.
And then Jared Jones, you mentioned here in passing, versus St. Louis versus the Mets.
In a rut. I mean, he was in a rut before he so
he got off to such a special start to his career, but
it's not a snap 5 like it would have been a month ago.
No.
I think he's pitched like a 2. I mean, is that where you go though?
Lately, but I mean, he's pitching.
I'm gonna go 3. I'm gonna go 3.
Okay, I put down a 4, but I'm gonna mark you down as a 3 on Jared Jones. I think that's probably a wise call. Yu Darvish. Now this is tentative, of course, as all of these are, but Darvish even more so because he's on the injured list. Did have imaging come back clean. They said the MRI was mostly for a peace of mind, for him, so he didn't. Wasn't continuing to pitch with that kind of in the back of his head.
Yeah.
He's also been battling a groin issue. So, actually, before that, what did they push him back or something? Because he was supposed to come back, but now he's got this elbow inflammation. So extremely tentative again at Texas versus Arizona. Really hard call with the way he struggled with injuries and his pitch this year. I think I'm going to go 3 on Darvish, but wait and see if we get word on his status.
Yeah, I mean, I even want to say 2, just because if he can come out of that game and only pitch 3 innings this next week. I'm going to go 2. I mean, okay. I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah, and just not a sure bet at all to make those starts, even one of them. So use Yu Darvish at your own risk. Luis Castillo versus Baltimore versus Toronto. Hasn't quite pitched as well as I was expecting coming in, but a couple home starts. Even though he does have to face Baltimore, I'm going to still keep Luis Castillo as a 5.
I am as well. It looks like for a couple of years he was developing a real strikeout pitcher, a put away guy. He seems to be giving up foul balls and dinky hits. I think he'll get it back. I'm going to go 5 as well.
What about Jordan Hicks at Atlanta, at Cleveland? I'll turn this one over to you to start. I believe he starts tonight, and then so he'd be lined up for Tuesday.
Yeah,
at Atlanta, at Cleveland.
Don't love the matchups. Been pitching okay. I think I'm going to go 2. Atlanta is back to being a bit of a slump again. They kind of broke out, but they're back to being a bit of a slump. And they had that weird game yesterday where they had a makeup game, so that kind of missing up their travel. So we'll see how they have that effect, and then affected. And I think get Martin Perez tonight, which is a good thing, before Skeins tomorrow. But I'm going to I'm just going to go 2.
All right, I put down a 3, but I got you as a 2 on Hicks. And what about Kyle Gibson? Pitched pretty well, and he's at Pitt, at Washington. I don't hate it. And if you've been riding him, you've gotten some value out of him. I think I'm gonna go 3 here too.
I am as well. Yeah. I'm gonna go 3.
Okay, that feels right for me.
Yeah.
We'll see about it. And then what about Zach Littell? He's a guy that I've been a little disappointed with. Only 2 wins. The ERA is acceptable at 4.17, but I was kind of thinking his brilliant stretch from last year could continue. Hasn't really been the case, but at KC, at Texas, I think I'm going to go my 3rd consecutive 3.
I'm with you. With you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what about Nathan Eovaldi versus San Diego versus Tampa Bay? I imagine he is a 4 or 5, but
yeah, I think he's like a 3.6, which goes up to a 4 because he hasn't been great. I'm going to go 4.
Yeah, I take that back. He's not really in the 5 mix, but I think 3 or 4, and I think 4 sounds good for Eovaldi, given the matchups both home versus San Diego versus Tampa Bay. Now, for the Blue Jays, Yariel Rodriguez, Jose Barrios, they're going to be home against Houston, then at Seattle. I think Barrios, for me, is going to be a 4. I'm going to turn this one over to you to start on Rodriguez.
I think he's still kind of in the stretching out stage or piggybacking phase, if you will.
Yeah, they don't really let him throw a full starter's pitch count.
I mean, I'm going. Do I go 1 just because? No, you know what? No, I don't think he's even. I haven't seen enough to go there. I'm going 0 with Rodriguez and Barrios. I think I'm going to go 4 as well, but I'm using him, but he's shown 5 abilities so far, or at points this season.
And then Mackenzie Gore, our last guy on the list here this week, he would be tentatively versus the Mets versus St. Louis.
I'm on 4, and I'm thinking, has he shown enough to be? No, not yet. I think I'm on a 4 with Gore. I'm being impressed, even with these matchups being the Mets. I'm still going to stick with a 4, but to me, that's a big compliment.
Yeah, he's kind of had some struggles lately. He's given up 9 earned runs in his last 2 starts, but before that, he was on a pretty nice run. So I'm a little hesitant on Gore, and actually, I think I'm only going to give him a 3. But you're on 4 on Gore.
Yeah. All right. So the last game against San Diego, he didn't strike anybody out. But even in the previous game when he was hit hard, he did still fan 7. So, yeah, I'm still going to stick with a 4. I think I'm just going to call the game in San Diego a blip.
All right, well, let's recap our 2-start pitcher grades for next week, the week of July 1st, 2024. Happy July to everybody. Ryan Nelson, 0. Ronaldo Lopez, 5. Kutter Crawford, I say 3. Todd, 2. Hayden Wesneski, I say 1. Todd, 2. Graham Ashcraft, I say 0. Todd, 1. Gavin Williams, 2. Austin Gomber, 0. Ryan Feltner, 0. Eric Fetty, 4. Tariq Skubal, 5. Hunter Brown, 4. Spencer Arrighetti, 2. Brady Singer, 2. Ronzi Contreras, 1. Valente Beozo, 0. Bryce Wilson, 0. Dallas Keuchel, 0. Simeon, Woods, Richardson, I say 3, Todd 2. David Peterson 3, Luis Heel 4. Mitch Spence, I say 1, Todd 0. Michael Mercado 0. Jared Jones, I say 4, Todd 3. Yu Darvish, I say 3, Todd 2. Luis Castillo 5. Jordan Hicks, I say 3, Todd 2. Kyle Gibson 3. Zach Littell 3. Nathan Eovaldi 4. Jose Barrios 4. Yariel Rodriguez, I say 1, Todd 0. And finally, Mackenzie Gore, I say 3, Todd 4. Well, I don't want to end on that rhyme, so anybody else on your mind this week, Todd?
Anyone else? No, I don't think so. Like I said, it was a weird week. It's going to get just as weird. We're at the point where a bunch of pitchers coming back, going away, getting hurt, a lot of weird stuff going on. So happy for MLB to have 15 games next Thursday. I think that's smart. Why don't you do it on Memorial Day? Why don't you do it on Labor Day? But anyway, halfway done, my friend, halfway done.
Yeah, thanks for all your hard work and, just all you do for us here at RotoWire. Really appreciate it. And congrats on getting through the first half. And we got the All-Star break coming up. So I imagine, like with Crochet and some others, we may see a little bit of workload management around the break for some of these youngsters.
Yep, and the little workload management for RotoWire as well, heading to Vegas.
Yeah, that's a good workload management situation there to our own little all-star break. Although I don't know if I'd be an all-star this year personally, but doing my best. But Todd, thanks so much. And thanks everybody for coming to hang out in the chat. Really appreciate everybody being here with us on a Friday. And good luck to you this week. And let's get set to put James Wood in our lineups and spend big on him a week from Sunday in the NFBC. I've been saving up money there. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back with you next week on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings PickSix.